Have you ever communicated with an animal and then convinced yourself that you were making it up or that it wasn't real? Well, my guest today is going to set the record straight and share her tips for how to recognize whether the telepathic message you received from an animal was real or not. Welcome back to the Animal Communicator and Healer Summit. This is the place for aspiring and established animal communicators and healers to connect with animals, to connect with their abilities, and to connect with each other. I'm your host, Dr. Kara Gubbins, founder of the Animal Wisdom Circle and creator of How to Talk to Your Pet, the four-step system that teaches anyone and everyone how to connect intuitively with their pets or with any animal. And today I am honored to have a pioneer in our field, Penelope Smith, with us, joining us from Arizona. And we're going to be talking about how to know if telepathic communication with animals is real. Before I welcome Penelope, I want to tell you a little bit about her. Penelope Smith is an animal communication specialist and author. She's been communicating with animals telepathically throughout her life, and in 1971, she discovered that animals could be relieved of emotional traumas and other problems through the same counseling techniques that helped humans. Penelope's visionary work as a pioneering teacher of interspecies telepathic communication has helped launch the careers of probably uncountable professional animal communicators around the world. She wrote the classic books Animal Talk, When Animals Speak, and Animals in Spirit, and she founded the Species Link Journal in 1990. You can find Penelope Smith online at animaltalk.net. Welcome, Penelope.
Thank you.
It is an honor to be here with you and to be able to share your wisdom. I was speaking with another animal communicator who's actually based in India, and we were trying to think of somebody who came before you, and we were stumped. We think you are the first professional animal communicator in the world. Is that true?
There were a few of us. It was at the same time, early 70s, and there were two other prominent people, and all of us were in the same area, in Los Angeles area.
Interesting.
That really started the whole field and got it rolling. I focused the most on teaching, and the other people who were doing it focused a lot on doing consultations and also on getting it on TV and radio, which I also did too. But yeah, there were just a few of us, and it's now, of course, gone into a whole different thing 50 years later.
It's incredible to think that it's been that long and how pioneering it was in the 70s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you know the other pioneers at that time?
Pardon? Sorry.
Did you know the other pioneering animal?
Yes, I did. I knew them, and of course read their articles in the paper too, because we were the only ones around, so we were being written about as we appeared. And of course it was quite a different tenor toward animal communication then.
I think we could have a whole conversation about how things have changed over 50 years, and maybe we'll do that. Yeah. But for today, let's just start with your story and how you became an animal communicator. Uh-oh.
So I was aware as a little girl that I could communicate with animals. I looked at them as fellow beings, as fellow intelligent beings. I talked to them knowing they could understand me and I could understand them. It was very natural to me. I was careful to keep it hidden because my mother would make fun of me and tell me I just had a very vivid imagination. And then when I told other kids, they really made fun of me. So I didn't lose it. I didn't cover it up like other people did, trying to get and win human approval. I simply went, uh-oh, this is too good to lose. I'm not gonna betray my friends of all species, because I would talk to birds and snakes and insects and dogs and cats, and I'm not going to betray them. So I'll just keep it hidden. I'll just keep it between me and me and spirit. And so I continued to communicate. I never thought when I was a kid that, oh, I'm going to make this into a profession. No, I just knew that it was part of me and that I could understand them, and that other people just shut that off. I was also aware that people shut things off. I was always very spiritually aware and talked to spirit, and I didn't want to lose any of that. So I kept it to myself. So then my mission in life was always to help people to be more aware, and to which would make the planet more yeah, better place to be. And so as I grew up, I went into social sciences and psychology, and eventually I became a spiritual counselor for people. And I found it very helpful. I saw people change a lot and release their fears. And then I started applying it to animals. I tell my story in my book, Animal Talk, about my first client in 1971 was a cat who was very afraid. And so I counseled her and found that she started releasing her trauma just like humans did, only actually much faster. But I did it all telepathically. This was my first real practical use of telepathic communication to help an animal. And she became like a different cat. She went from being very afraid of everybody and running away to being very confident. And it was quite a huge change. So then I just started applying it. I didn't think of it again as a career. I was a counselor for people. So I just started applying it to animals and found fantastic results. I would get these wonderful changes. And eventually I started charging for it. I figured, well, I'm doing a really good service. And I loved it. I mean, animals responded so immediately. And of course, they understood. They didn't have a denier on telepathic communication. They didn't deny that we could connect. They were very happy to be connected with, and their feelings and thoughts understood. And so it started to take over. I was doing other things. I was, again, a spiritual counselor for people, but I was also teaching dance and body movement and performing as an artist. And I was doing this sort of as another side profession. And eventually it started to take over, and I loved it so much. Then people, of course, found out about me more and more, and I did more articles and appeared on the radio, et cetera, et cetera. And then they wanted me to teach them. So away it went. So that was the 70s. It just started taking off, and became a profession that took over my life, really. And then once I wrote Animal Talk and got that out to people, then there was really no room for anything else. I mean, I was doing so many consultations, and then started teaching, and then more and more calls for teaching, and away it went. And then, of course, I taught other people how to do this, and taught other people how to teach. And it branched from there until now. People used to call me the mother of interspecies communication, and then they started calling me the grandmother, because I had several generations. I had my students were teaching their students, and now I think I'm probably the great grandmother, because their students are teaching their students. And I'm very pleased with how it. I mean, I saw that it would go this way, because people. My purpose, my intention was to wake people up. I felt the animals were always okay, that it was people that needed more help. And when people woke up, they treated animals better. And when they got more conscious, it really is a spiritual journey. It's a journey in consciousness, in waking up, in awareness of our connection to all life. So the animals were already awake. And then when humans started waking up more and more to this, you see how people now recognize the intelligence and the feelings and the consciousness of animals so much more than they did years ago.
I think that, that's kind of a natural evolution of humanity to just
Yes.
start to have more awareness, right? Like it just is part of the path. But I think that you, as a pioneer in this field, really opened up people's eyes to the possibility that there was more going on than we might give animals credit for,
Oh,
and
yeah.
helped them expand. And that helped those ripples go out into the world.
Yes, even in spiritual circles, in metaphysical circles, and I would go and do lectures, people regarded animals as sort of substandard beings. They say, well, people could evolve, but animals, they don't evolve. And I clued them in on that. I mean, I was one of the first to say, no, the animals are spiritual beings the same as you and me. Anima, soul, spirit, breath, air, life. Same as you and me. And in fact, we can learn so much from them because humans are the only species that can lose their way, that can get lost in the mental abyss. We have this great mental capacity, but we also have the ability to forget who we are, get lost in our mental states and forget who we are. But the animals never forget. They never lose their telepathic connection. They never forget who they are. And so when we tune into animals and we feel so good, a lot of that is because we start to remember, oh, we are spiritual beings. We are whole, holy beings, just like them. And they're reminding us with their simplicity, with their purity, with their understanding. And humans need that. Humans need a lot of support. I've learned that from animals. Humans need a tremendous amount of support, tremendous amount of compassion, more than anybody, really. And so the beauty of the animals is that they give that to us willingly.
Well, with their presence and also with the messages that they
Yes.
convey through telepathic communication. So, Penelope, how do you define telepathic communication?
Well, telepathy, the word itself says it. So tele means distance, pathy is feeling. So it's feeling across a distance. So feeling is essential. People often equate telepathy with thoughts. Well, yes, it is. You get thoughts and feelings, but feeling is essential. Without feeling, you won't get it. Because if you just get thoughts, the tendency with humans is to get lost in their own thoughts. And if they do this only on an analytical, try to do it only on an analytical level, they'll often get their own thoughts confused in it. But feeling, connecting with all your senses. So telepathy is like extended senses, finer tuned senses, internal sensing. We all have it. We're born with it. And our human societies often negate it. The intuitive abilities, these are intuitive. These internal senses or extended senses are our intuitive senses. And so when they're negated, then people just stick to speech. And speech is fine if you're also getting the feeling behind the words. If you're getting what a person feels, what they really mean, then you can understand them. But with animals, it's direct. So we can get what they think, what they feel, what they taste, what they smell, what they see, all the senses. And that's what telepathy is. Yeah, that's how it works.
I love that. So if somebody is, making an effort, intentionally setting out to communicate telepathically with an animal, is there anything they need to do to make that work? Or is it more of a tuning in? How does that
Well, you need to get quiet. People are often so much in their heads. They're lost in their own mental traces. They flit from one thing to the next, and our society functions to make everything sped up even more. So people get more lost in what's called monkey mind, which is an insult, but to monkeys. But what they mean is the mental images that keep going and going beyond your control. They just jump from one thing to the next. So you need to get into space, not where everything is shut down. You don't have to shut down your mind. You simply have to get quiet enough, breathing deeply, connecting to the earth, centering your body, with the earth, feeling your own body here present. Then you can be present to another. But you have to get out of that sort of nervous, hyper energy that is very common, anxious energy, really common in our society. So in order to listen to another, it isn't a thinky thing. It isn't I wonder what he's thinking. I wonder what Kara is thinking right now. I'm going to try to figure her out. That's what people do with animals. They go, there's that thing over there. I'm going to try to figure it out. Well, no, this is about communion, connection. So planting your feet on the ground, feeling your body, taking a deep breath, bringing your energy down, down, feeling your whole body viscerally. Then you'll be like an animal, which we are. We're human animals. Then you'll be like other animals, connected to your body, here, present. And in that space, staying in this sort of neutral mental state, where your mind is not racing, but you're just here, then you can look at an animal, be with them, and feel them, and actually get their feelings and what's going on with them, rather than your own thoughts about them. That's how it works. And so people say, well, do I have to totally blank out my mind? Well, you learn how, when you start to get quiet and get in that meditative space of being present here, you learn how to put your own mind and those thoughts that pop up all the time, put them aside and listen to the other. So you listen to the person, including animals, that you're with, and you start to feel them. You feel their feelings. You get their thoughts.
Do you think that this kind of energetic connection, this telepathic communication, is happening and we're just not aware of it? So we have to learn how to just become aware of what's already there, or is it something
Yes,
else?
yeah, to a great extent, it's in the background for most people. And when people do basic courses, or they start to read the books, read Animal Talk or read other people's books, then they start to go, well, yeah, I got the horse's intentions. I got their feelings. I got my chicken's sensations. I knew what my dog wanted. And they start to recognize how it works. See, a lot of it, we haven't been trained in this society with how our intuitive perceptions work, how our internal sensing, our extended, finer tuned perceptions work. We're in the speed zone and in the word zone, and we don't sit back and get what's behind it all. And so when people start to learn what's behind it all and start to feel it, they go, I remember when I totally understood my cat. I totally got what was going on. Then they start to recover it. They first have to know what it is, and they start to realize that, yes, it's been in the background, or they realize how they block themselves, or they realize how their analytical thinking has gotten in the way. And they learn how to drop in and get a richer, fuller, more sensuous connection. And that's what animals are about. They don't lose their telepathic connection. Nobody tells them, their fox mother or their dog mother doesn't say, well, now don't pay any attention to the feelings that you get.
And it
Don't
sounds
pay
so
any attention to
ridiculous
the intentions.
when you say it that way, right? Like, oh, how could we be doing this?
Yeah, and that's what people are trained. They go, stamp it all down and conform to the societal mode, which is generally an analytical mode, but of course that is constantly now changing, so that people are learning how to feel, be present, accept their feelings, differentiate between their own thoughts and others. It's a process.
Yeah, I mean, it really sounds like it's just returning home to how we're designed to be in the world.
Yes. Yeah, it is about coming home. It really is.
What do you find is the biggest block that comes up as people start on this path?
Well, they second guess themselves. They put up a shield. It's the analytical shield. They put up this thinking shield. So they get into figuring it out. So they go, well, what does it mean? Look at my face. What does it mean? They get all tense and they go, I can't figure it out. Well, it isn't about figuring it out. So figuring it out, thinking, wondering, second guessing is typical block that people have. So instead of letting themselves feel, now often in basic courses, we would do exercises where people would be tuning into the animals and asking them questions. And then I would ask them for their feedback. What did you get? And they said, well, I didn't get anything. So I just say again, what did you get? And they go, well, I got. Isn't that funny?
It's such a perfect illustration of exactly what we've been saying, right? Like it was there, we just weren't aware of it.
They deny it.
Yeah.
It just happened and it was instant. And they deny it because, again, they haven't been taught. They've been taught something else. You don't pay attention to the instant things. You don't pay attention to the intuitive and the sense perceptions. You only pay attention to the societal packages, the words, and what society says the words mean rather than what people are really feeling behind the words. So people deny it. So then I get them to look at, what did you get? And they go, well, I got this impression that he was feeling uncomfortable. And they startle themselves. They go, whoa, I did get something. I said, yes, you did. Now notice how you got that. And then they start opening the pathways, recognizing the pathways, opening the pathways, all the senses, whether they get it visually or whether they get it by hearing, whether they get smells, whether they get kinesthetics, whether they get the motion, however they get it.
And do you think that this whole, I guess, mental construct or mental block of I don't trust myself, I don't trust it, it's not really real, is that where that comes from, that disconnect?
It comes from how we're trained, really. It's socialization. I was taught the same way. I was taught, no, that's just my imagination. Like imagination is a bad thing even. The ability to image is a bad thing. Whoa. I teach people in my courses how to imagine again. If you can't imagine that you can receive a telepathic communication, you will not receive it. So people have been taught to not imagine that these things could ever happen. And so they don't happen. You have to imagine it first. So that's what happens. People get tamped down and then they learn to open up again, sort of in a childlike way, in an animal-like way.
In a very organic, natural, being in touch with yourself, being in touch with your environment around you, very holistic, natural way of knowing.
Yes. That's what it is.
So why do we get so hung up on, is it real or not?
Well, people are scared. They're very, they've been taught, well, you only get things a certain way, and this is what the teacher says, this is what your parents says, this is the dictionary definition of the word. You can't feel anything outside of that. So people are scared of being different. I was fortunate. I wasn't scared of being different. I was so different that I either had to accept it or go crazy. So I wasn't afraid of people calling me weird or different, but most people are. Wait, this doesn't fit the norm. This is scary. So they're scared of what they're getting. Is it real? Is it, what does that mean? Real what? Real according to who? These telepathic senses are real. They're happening. But people have to learn how to trust it, how to accept these more fine-tuned senses, these more visceral senses, getting in touch with the body again, getting in touch with the animal's body, getting in touch with the finer tuned senses that go between bodies, the energetic connections. So people have to start to experience that, and then they gradually, as they practice, they start to see the results and they get more confident. But this is what the teaching is all about, how to first get a sense of what it is, open the door, and then continue to develop it, develop your confidence in it. So I give people how you can tell if it's real. First of all, your senses, your internal senses and your connection with an animal, when you get another person's communication, another being's communication, whether they're a human being or an animal being, it's different than your own. It's not the same thing you think all the time. So if I ask you, Kara, about something about your life, I'm going to learn something. It's going to be something different. It might even be strange to what I have ever experienced. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know until I listen to you. So the same, or even more goes for another species. So we get something from another species, their senses are different. Their purposes are different. Their viewpoints are different. So when we get something from them, it's different than what we normally think. So I get things from animals and I go, whoa, wow, that's really interesting. And then I have to, put it into words for people. So I say, let me just now translate this into words that are as true as I possibly can say to what the animal just gave me, the feelings, the sensations, the viewpoint they just gave me. And so then I translate it. So it is a process of feeling an ability to accept another's feeling that is different than your own. And you recognize that is different than your own. Your own thinky, your normal agendas, thoughts, perceptions, they're not there anymore. They're over here somewhere. So you get this and you go, whoa, this is a different sensation. It's from another being who has a different perspective. So you listen carefully, then you learn to expand on that. As you get more experience, you learn to listen fully with all your senses, not just on the first channel that you got that was open. Maybe hearing was open, or maybe images were open. You learn to listen on all the channels to feel the full sensation. It's gutsy. So you feel it with your body. I tell people it's actually kind of a rip-roaring thing. It rips through you. I mean, this is vital. This is not the thinky, thin kind of thing that people get. You'll see people who think that they're communicating telepathically, and they're just advising people. They're just giving people intellectual advice. They haven't really learned how to tap in. When you learn how to tap in, you go, whoa, wait till you hear this. I've often said to clients, I go, well, okay, I'm going to describe this to you, what the animal described, how they feel. And so then first you get it, and usually you're explaining it to a person because it's their animal you're communicating with. The animal is so gratified. This is another thing how you tell it's real. It resonates with the animal. They are so relieved. So I've had animals who are aggressive and stay away from people. After I get their communication, they jump up into my lap and they're purring and they're rubbing against me and saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. Total change in behavior. So the practical thing, the practical reality is showing you this is real because the animal's behavior changed. The other thing that shows you it's real is it resonates with the people. Sometimes it's surprising to people, but they go, oh, yes, that makes sense. But they're like opened. So the people start to go, whoa, I get it. I wasn't getting that before. I didn't get the depth of how he was feeling it. I was trying to get him to do something, and I didn't realize why he was resisting so much. I didn't get his perspective. So when they get the perspective, the animal's relieved. You can see them. They go like this. Oh, yeah. Sometimes they'll ripple their spines, or they'll shake their tails, or they'll just fall asleep and they'll just lie there. And the people will say, gee, he's normally jumping up and down. He's all over the place. And then during the whole consultation, they're just like so relieved. They're like zonked out on the floor. But the behavior changes. That's how you tell. I tell people when it's real, when you're not making it up in quotes, when you're not just doing your thinky, figuring it out, trying to figure the animal out, or you're projecting onto them what you think is happening, things change. It's gutsy. I mean, you see real results. Sometimes you see miracles right before your eye. I mean, would you like me to give you an example?
Yes,
Give you an
absolutely.
example of what real communication does. I was asked again, I did consultations either in person or I did them by phone. And this one was in person. And the woman called me because her cat was very, very ill. And the vet had pretty much given up on the cat and said, she's about to die. There's nothing we can do. And when I came over, the cats that hadn't been eating, hadn't been drinking, pretty much had her head down on the floor with her arms out. She looked pretty much dead. So I knew nothing about the person. I knew nothing about her situation. So I just said to the cat, "What's happening? Why are you so ill? What's happening? Can you tell me?" And the cat just moved slightly in my direction and started telling me that she had been beaten by a man. She had been kicked by a man, and showed me the image of the man. So I described the man. I said, she's been kicked and it looks like it's your hallway, because I had just come in the apartment, and I said, it looks like this hallway that your cat has been kicked. And then the cat identified, said it's her boyfriend. I'll translate that into human words. The man who comes and sees and stays overnight, etc. Her boyfriend. And the woman was utterly shocked. She knew nothing about this. She said, "Oh my gosh." She said, "Well, he's not my boyfriend anymore. He was abusive to me. And we just ended it." And I said, "Well, he wasn't just abusive to you. He was abusive to your cat." And the woman was just like, when she found out, of course, she started crying. And the most amazing thing, this is her cat who had been splayed out on the floor, no eating, no drinking. And the vet gave up on the cat, said she's dying, got up, went over and started eating. Because the woman understood. And she explained to me, and of course, I'm explaining to her cat at the same time, "I'm never seeing him again." And I said, "Well, talk to your cat. I'm of course translating, but your cat can hear you." She said, "I'm never seeing him again. I didn't know that he was abusive to you. I would have ended it much sooner had I knew that." So the cat had no way, of course, of communicating this to the person, and was pretty much dying, had given up. There was no use living. What was the point when this boyfriend came over? The cat was abused, his person was abused. What was the point of living? So the cat started drinking and eating. And I did some healing of energy with the cat while we were talking, and while I was sitting there, I was just giving the cat some extra healing energy. But most of it happened from the communication, from the person realizing what was going on, and the cat knowing that it was never going to happen again. So this is the miracle of telepathic communication. The cat got totally better. I mean, the person reported to me later, the cat got totally better. Of course, the person had a gazillion realizations about this, because can you imagine, how hard it is for people to get out of abusive situations, but to realize that your children or your animals are also getting abused. I mean, wow, that's a biggie. So that was a very dramatic case, but I've had many like that, not quite, come back from the dead, but many cases where you communicate and it's true. First of all, it resonates in your whole body. You feel in your whole body. Many people feel tingles up their spine. Other people just feel a real solid connection. They feel a connection with the earth, connection with the animal. They know it's true. Once you have the connection, the reality comes in, and then it shows in your results. So that's how you check. If it doesn't resonate with the person, if it doesn't resonate with the animal, if nothing changes, it is very likely you are off track. You are doing your your thinky bit. You're throwing across advice, because it shakes the world, it like it rocks people's worlds. I've seen people's worlds rocked. People who had very fixed ideas about things. I've seen consultations where the husband was in the room, but he's staying far away, but he wanted to hear. And he like completely changes and is a convert afterwards, even though, to telepathic communication, that it's real, even though his wife was the one who called and he was the, skeptic. And I've seen that happen over and over again with people. So while it's not always real dramatic, like sometimes, it'll be something like the cat will say, well, she shifted the litter box. I don't like it in that place. I want it back in the space it was before. So I tell the person, put the litter box back and he'll stop peeing in other places. So the person puts the litter box back and all is solved. So it's not quite so dramatic. I mean, this was an abuse case. But it's something, the reality is shown by the fact that the behavior changes.
Mm.
And for me, of course, I was very experienced doing many different kinds of animals over the years. For me, it was very often very quick. I didn't have to go back over and over again, but some cases require application of things that come up and checking with the animal, and then you have to come back another time and check in with them, or the animal wants to check in with you and the person wants to check in with you. But oftentimes it's just that whoop, and the world changes. A person's world changes. They're more aware. Their awareness has come up. The animal's life has changed.
And it can be that quick and that dramatic, or it can be subtle.
Yeah.
But I love how you talk about the resonating with the animal and the person and with you, that you feel it too.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important place to start to focus, to help people recognize when their mind's kind of overworking in the situation, and to come back into the
Yeah.
body.
Very,
Penelope, do
very
you have
important.
any final words that you want to share with us today?
Well, I want people to know that this is possible for everyone. That again, some people have more blocks than others. Some people have been so trained in only analytical thinking that it's very difficult for them to backtrack into their bodies again, to feel their whole body, the connection of the mind and the body and spirit together. So I'd say persist. Now you have many helpers. You have many people who are teaching. You have many people who've written all kinds of books, audio recordings, video recordings. There are these wonderful conferences like this one, and free websites that offer animal communication practice. So there's a lot of ways that you can practice, and know that it's in you, that this is our native ability. We're all born with the ability to understand others' thoughts and feelings, to actually get them, to feel the energetic connection between beings, and you can recover it.
I love that. And you have a really wonderful free gift for all of our viewers called the Telepathic Journey, Opening to the Whole, which I think is just the perfect segue for exactly what you said. Do you want us to tell people a little bit more about that journey, that
Yeah,
telepathic journey?
it's a special talk that I gave after, it's modeled after a realization. I was teaching in Germany, and I woke up one morning and suddenly the entire telepathic journey of where people start and how they open to the whole was like revealed to me.
Mm.
I wrote it all down, the entire journey, from the separation, the feeling of, oh, the animal's an object over there that I can't connect with, to the feeling of oneness with all of life. And how people progress through that. I saw the entire progression, again, all the years of teaching and working with people, and it all came clear to me. So that's what that free teleseminar is about, the telepathic journey, opening to the whole.
That is going to be so helpful for so many people to just understand the terrain and what, the patterns are, the journey is, what that road is like, especially if they're just starting out. And we have a button right here on this viewing page that's going to connect everybody directly to that free gift from Penelope. And Penelope Smith is coming back for a bonus interview about deep and true animal communication that gets results. So we're going to go deeper into Penelope's techniques and perspective and wisdom from her 50 years, her 5 decades of work in this field. And you can get access to that bonus interview when you purchase your All Access Pass. The All Access Pass gives you access to everything, all of the interviews in the summit that we've been broadcasting for free, all of the bonus interviews, and anything else we can think of along with the kitchen sink. The price does go up when the summit ends, so act now to get the best value and to get more of Penelope and her wisdom. And for now, I just want to say, Penelope Smith, thank you for being here, and thank you for being a positive pioneer in our field to really create the ripples of change and transformation throughout the world. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right, thanks everybody. That's it for today, but join us back in the All Access Pass area, and I look forward to seeing you next time. And whatever you learned from Penelope, please put a note in the comments wherever you are seeing this, or come on over to our Facebook group, the Animal Wisdom Insiders, and let us know what insights, ahas, and inspirations did you receive from Penelope today. I look forward to seeing you there and hearing from you soon. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.